In preparation for the upcoming release of Black Myth Wukong, I figure it might be worthwhile to come back and revisit the story of Journey to the West, and especially to learn a little bit more about the origins of Wukong. Now, there's many different versions of Origins. What I've decided is that I'm going to base all my information on the 1986 version of the TV show Journey to the West, produced by CCTV back in the day. And the reason I chose the TV show over the novel is because I think the TV show is a lot more accessible than a novel, especially an ancient Chinese novel. And for the Western audience, which this video is aimed at, I feel like the TV show, even though it's in Chinese, but I feel like it's a lot more accessible than, again, a 1,000-page Chinese novel, especially in the ancient Chinese dialect as well. And also, I know there are some modifications and sanitations that happened to the TV show from when they did the adaptation, but I feel like the TV show is widely regarded as a decent adaptation, albeit somewhat modified to fit the more modern sensibilities of the audience, and also make it a little bit more palatable to all generations, really, or all ages. I am 100% sure I will be making some mistakes. I may miss some things, I may misspoke on some things, so feel free to leave comments to point out the mistakes, and I will make another video correcting the mistakes if I feel like it's warranted. I mainly want to focus on the first 5 episodes because that covers the birth of Wukong and all the way until he starts the journey with Tang Seng. So I feel like that gives us a pretty good coverage for the origin of Wukong. Now, you can find this TV show on the YouTubes, so feel free to watch along, but I will be just skipping through, go to the important moments, at least the important moments that I feel is noteworthy, so we'll talk about it. Episode 1, we'll see a beach, we'll see a rock here, and that will be our main character, Wukong. Now, Wukong is born out of rock, and what is said is that Wukong is born out of the heavens and the earth. Again, state-of-the-art visual effects here. They actually did blow up some rocks. But yeah, so there you go, that's the birth of Wukong. And here we see a shot of heaven. So in heaven, it's just like everybody's shaking, but it's heaven. They don't have earthquake out there. So we'll see. All the gods are shaking around. And we got a surprising amount of monkeying around in this show here. This character here is the Jade Emperor. So you can think of him like the god of gods, right? He's like the Zeus in Greek mythology. So he's asking, what the hell happened? We don't get earthquakes up here. What is going on? So he tasked these 2 other gods here to take a look. So these 2 gods over here, one of them, I'm not sure which one, but one of them is the god of hearing, and one of them is the god of seeing. So one is called Qianliyan. So that means 1,000-mile eyes, right? Or 1,000-mile eyesight. And the other one is called Shunfeng. It's like wind years or something. I don't know how that works, but like he hears really, really well. So they go and take a look. What the hell's going on? So I guess the green one is the seeing one, and the red one is the hearing one. And they see this monkey here, and they report back. It's like, oh yeah, there's not much going on. There's a rock monkey there. Wukong hasn't got his name just yet. So at this moment, he is still referred to as the quote-unquote rock monkey. I've got a couple more minutes of monkeying around. Again, surprising amount of monkeying around here. It's about 3 minutes, right? So we know he is called the Monkey King, but he's not the Monkey King just yet. But where he's from, like this area here is called the Flower and Fruit Mountain, Hua Guoshan, right? So that's where Wukong is from, that's where his home is. So there's a moment where all the monkeys ask Wukong, it's like, hey, there's a cave behind this waterfall over here, and if you can go inside and come back out alive, we will make you our king. So right at this moment here, right, we can see some shiny stuff behind the waterfall, and it seems to be a cave behind the waterfall, and this is the water curtain cave, Shuilian Dong, which is the basically Wukong's castle, so to speak. He goes in, checks it out. It's like, oh yeah, this cave is great. Got some RGB lights, got some lotus flowers, or I don't know how it works. It's pretty much like a man cave, if there's, you know, it looks pretty much like a man cave. It's got RGB lights, it's got a throne. Although, I'll be honest, it's not very ergonomic, but hey, you know, 1986, what do they know about ergonomics back then? He's like, this is great. I'll take it. Right? So and then he brought in all his minions, and now he is officially crowned, so to speak, as the Monkey King. And we got some more celebration, more monkeying around. I'm telling you, this episode is full of monkeying around. And drunk monkeying around as well. And here, this moment right here, we can see this monkey sort of falls on the ground, dead, from all the partying. They realize their mortality. It's like, oh, if we party too hard, we'll die. I mean, I don't know how they didn't know this before, but hey, whatever. And the monkeys ask Wukong, can you go figure out a way to grant us everlasting life? Wukong, as the king, decides, you know what, I will go find everlasting life for everybody. And, you know, it could have been him as a king, right? He sets off on this raft to find the human world, I guess, to figure out a way to grant everybody everlasting life. And we see him land where the humans are. We get a quick depiction of the human 16th century human colony or human city or whatever. Again, more moments of monkeying around. Obviously just showing how he is really an outsider and he doesn't really know much about the human world. And he continues his journey to find ways to grant everlasting life. Now, usually in Chinese mythology, we have the idea of Dan, right? Or so in Chinese mythology, right? What happens is that gods are not really gods like the Western or the Judeo-Christian sense of gods, but in the Chinese sense of the gods, or 神仙, I guess, is someone who has achieved godhood. As in, like, I think last time we talked about training is a way to achieve godhood, or I guess atonement or atoning is a way to achieve godhood. Meditation, you know, things like these. That's why when you look at Taoism, Buddhism, there's a lot of self-reflection, self-studying, studying from within, looking at yourself, very introspective things. And these are the ways, the path to attain godhood. So you atone for it. And throughout your entire life, if you're dedicated enough, if you're strong-willed enough, you may achieve godhood. So that's the real difference between the Chinese mythology gods versus the Western mythology gods. And also, when you talk about like atonement, right, training, in Chinese it's called 修炼, right? So the more you 修炼, the more likely you are to become a god or achieve godhood. And here's a moment where Wukong hears this person singing. Again, I don't understand really what he's saying, but it seems like Wukong listens to what this guy is saying, and there's some resonance that happens within Wukong's head. He thinks this person is a god for whatever reason. And then he asks, like, where did you get that from? Where did you learn that from? And the person points Wukong to the mountains. Keep walking up the mountains, and you will find a monastery, and you will find Puti Zushi. So Master Bodhi, I believe is his name. And Wukong's like, fuck yeah, I'll go. No problem. I'll go find it. And there's, again, more monkeying around. But eventually Master Puti accepts Wukong as his disciple because he came from such far away from fruit and flower mountains, or flower and fruit mountains, or whatever. And it seems like it's a pretty far away place. And here we get a moment. It's a very important moment here. So here, Master Bodhi asks Wukong, what is your name? Wukong says, I don't have a name because I was born out of the rock. And for whatever reason, he seemed to remember his birth. And Master Bodhi says, so here, Master Bodhi says, you look like a Hu Sun. Hu Sun is a type of monkey. Right? So Hu Sun, you can see Hu Sun. So then Master Bodhi says, oh, well, what about giving you a last name of Sun or Sun? Right? Because you look like a monkey. Obviously, he is a monkey. And give his name, Fa Ming, here refers to his title as a disciple. Right? Wukong. Now, Wukong is a pretty important name. Wu means to think about. Right? To ponder, to wander a little bit. And then Kong means nothing. So it's like, if you think about it, right? So to think about nothing, to wonder about nothing, to ponder about nothing, it's a little bit of an oxymoron. But what it means is really to atone, right? Remember how I talked about if in order to become or to achieve godhood in the Chinese mythology, you really need to be looking within, right? So here, I think what the name refers to is for Wukong to think about himself, to think about what he could be and how he can become better and how he can achieve this godhood. So it's a very, very important name, and it's a very meaningful name. So and then also a very big moment where Wukong gets his name.
好吗？
And Wukong's very, very happy. Look at him. Here he says, the master has accepted me as his disciple, really. And we get a montage of training. Of course, you can never miss one of those. Unfortunately, there's no Rocky music. But yeah, and also martial arts really is a way for one to atone themselves. I think Bruce Lee also mentioned some of that as well in the interviews with him, where he thinks martial art is a form of meditation. Right? It's not meant as a way to defeat your enemy, but more like a way to for you to find a way to physically express yourself, to physically discover yourself. So martial arts, again, it's a very, very important part of this atonement journey in the Chinese mythology, both Taoism, Taoism. And then we got a couple years later now at this point, where then the Master Bodhi teaches Wukong some more skills in the middle of the night. And Master Bodhi said, what if I teach you the 72 transformations? How about that? Wukong's like, hell yeah, fuck yeah, 72 transformations? I'll do it. And again, I'm going even more monkeying around. And of course, state-of-the-art visual effects. And in fact, actually, I don't think they have computers back then to do all of this stuff, or maybe very, very early computers, but they would do a lot of this stuff with actually film. So they would film Wukong walking up a tree here horizontally, for example, and then they would take that film and layer it on top of another film, and then photograph all of that again to make the final composite. And that's where compositing comes from, where you layer multiple layers of film on top of each other, where you literally cut them out, put them on top, and then you photograph it again onto another piece of film. And here, Master Bodhi asked Wukong about his Qinggong, so light skills, meaning like things like jumping around, climbing trees, and things like that. These are what the Chinese martial arts call Qinggong. Now, for someone to be very good at it, it takes a lot of training, right? And the Master Bodhi says, show me your Qinggong. And Wukong shows him. Master's like, no, that's not good enough. Let me teach you Jin Dou Yun, right? Literally translated as the front flip cloud, right? This is a very iconic skill that Wukong has, right? And we see a moment of that in the trailers here, right? You can see him riding on his cloud over here, and everybody knows about it. And each flip is 10,800里, which is about 54,000 kilometers and 33,500 miles for my American friends. And this is the moment that he learns it from Master Bodhi. And there we go, you can see him doing his flips. Again, 1986. That's still pretty cool. So there's a moment where Wukong sort of shows off his skills that Master Bodhi has taught him as almost like a circus trick. Right there, you can see here Wukong does his transformation, and Master Bodhi comes around, he sees this, and he was very upset at it. And he says to Wukong that the skills I teach you are not meant as parlor tricks. They're not meant to be fun stuff to do. They're serious things, and you need to be serious about it. And Master Bodhi kicks Wukong out as his disciple, and also tells Wukong that you should never mention that I taught you, and you should never mention you are one of my disciples. And I'm not entirely sure why this is, and I don't think it's a moment where Master Bodhi is very upset at this one thing that Wukong did. And I think what happens here is that Master Bodhi knows that Wukong is destined for greater things, right? Remember when we were talking about when he was born out of the heaven and the earth, which in Chinese, it has a sense of purpose where it's almost like someone who is appointed by the gods. That's the moment where Master Bodhi says, hey, Wukong, you're destined for greater things, and I need to move you along to get you started on that. Here, Master Bodhi tells Wukong, from now on, do as much good as you can and do not be evil. And I feel like this maybe have something to do with this moment over here. We have this little kid asking an old master. So the little kid says, do you think there's more good people in the world, or is there more bad people in the world? And the master replies, of course, good people. This may be a moment where the younger Wukong is asking Master Bodhi, perhaps? I'm not sure. Since in the TV show, Wukong is born as a fully grown monkey. So, I don't know, maybe it's something there, but maybe I'm reading too much into it, I don't know. But then later on, also, we get a moment where we see, hey, there's a very important thing about good and evil here. And during my video discussing the Chinese translation versus the English, we discussed this good versus evil thing, right? Where if you do good, regardless of what happens, regardless of the outcome, then you're not doing good. You're doing something actually very evil. So perhaps it's a moment here. I'm not entirely sure, but it does seem to resonate the same way. And that's it for episode 1, where after Master Bodhi kicks Wukong out, Wukong returns home to the Fruit and Flower Mountain. So in episode 2, in the beginning, Wukong returns home, seeing these bandits trying to take over his house or his cave, right? And then they have this fight. Wukong beats off or defeats the monsters over here, and then the monster actually returns with his other monster friends, and they become friends with Wukong, right? So there's a saying in Chinese that's called 不打不相识. So you only know someone after you have a fight, so that's the case here. And what happens is that these guys mention to Wukong, hey, you call yourself the Monkey King, right? But how come you don't have a weapon? You don't have a great weapon with you. So having a great weapon is a very important thing for someone who calls himself a king, or someone who is somebody, right? Very, very important moment to have a very, very good weapon. And what the monsters, then these guys tell Wukong is like, oh, I heard about this Eastern Sea Dragon King. He's got some crazy weapons over where he is. So why don't you go, ask him nicely for some weapons? So I don't know what the bandits are looking for, but hey, Wukong's like, yeah, I'll go. And there he is, heading to the Dragon King's palace, so to speak. And for whatever reason, the Dragon King seems to know the Monkey King, and it's like, yeah, sure, I guess they're all kings. And the Dragon King brings out all the weapons for Wukong to try. Oh, try this one, try that one. None of which Wukong likes. However, one of the Dragon King's daughter mentioned to the Dragon King that if this monkey, he's so picky about this stuff, why don't we show him the Dinghai Shenzhen that we got? So what is that? What is Dinghai Shenzhen? Zhen has two meanings, really, or two different characters that mean different things but sound the same. So in the Chinese translation, it actually says Zhen as in it's a treasure, but also it sounds like a needle, right? So it means the treasure that settles the sea, Dinghai Shenzhen. And of course, Wukong hides the stick in his ear. But I feel like that's not very safe, So whatever the mouth and ear doctors would be like, no, don't put anything in your ear. But, mythologies, right? So then the Dragon King brings Wukong to look at the stick that we got, right? Look at this thing. I mean, I'll be honest, it's not very impressive. Comparing to what the modern designs are, right? If you look at this stick over here that the Wukong has in the game, this stick looks way nicer than what was in the TV show over here. But, 1986. And on the stick it says, 13,500 斤. So each jin is about 500 grams. So all together, this thing weighs about 6,750 kilograms, which is about 150,000 pounds. So it weighs about 2 Hummer EVs. So, pretty darn heavy if I do say so myself. Now, a little bit about the stick. The legend has it that it was originally constructed by Taishang Lao Jun, who is a very famous Taoism character. And so he is very famous for creating especially dan, right? So these medicinal capsules made in this cauldron. So this weapon maybe come from the same cauldron that he makes Dan with. And originally it was made for Yu, who is somebody who, according to legend, controls the flood, controls water. So that's why we have it here in the Dragon King's palace to settle the seas. So obviously this thing is pretty shiny, and Wukong's like, hell yeah, I like shiny stuff, you know? Monkeys, a little bit like pigeons, maybe. And here on it says Rui Jinggu Bang. So literal translation means that the golden circlet stick or wand that does things according to your mind. So Rui means according to your mind. Jinggu means golden circlet. Bang means stick or wand. So it seems like we see later here that it does things according to what Wukong says. So here we can see the stick drops over, and Wukong says, so can you be a little bit shorter and a little bit thinner? A little bit shorter, a little bit thinner. A little bit shorter and a little bit thinner. So you can see every time Wukong repeats the command, the stick does it, right? So that's the Rui bit. And the camera moving, man. Now again, in the TV show, it doesn't seem to imply that this stick was designed for him, but for whatever reason, you know, the stick does whatever Wukong says. And guess what he does too, right? He starts demanding a suit of armor. And the Dragon King is like, oh my god, what the fuck is wrong with this guy, dude? What's the deal here? And then all the Dragon King friends come around and it's like, oh, what do we do? And they're like, just give him the thing and make him leave. So they bring up the armor, give it to him so that he can leave. And this is a moment where we can see him with the armor. So I think that is a similar armor to this one here. So it may not be entirely the same, but it does look similar. So perhaps this moment here is before he actually embarks on the journey to the west. But we'll see a little bit more later. And here he comes back to the Fruit and Flower Mountain, shows off the stick. Obviously, it is a big stick. You know, everybody loves to show off their big stick. You know how it is. And you see how big the stick is. The jokesters write themselves. And it's got so big that it pokes into the heavens. And once again, the Jade Emperor is like, what the hell's going on, dude? What happened? And these two come back. It's like, yeah, we got a big stick. Oh, and according to this guy here, so 300 years has passed since Wukong's birth. And this moment here, I don't know how this connects to anything else, but it seems like Wukong has died. So we can see the spirits come to get him to the underworld. And the Chinese underworld is controlled by Yan Wenye, and he is the god of death. So he controls who goes to the death, who doesn't come around. And it's like there seems to be some intricacies about where to go in the underworld, but suffice to say, Wukong is not happy about being dead. And what he does is, again, make a mess. That's his signature move. And he grabs the Book of Life and Death and crosses out his name. So you can see here this moment that he finds his name and crosses it out. So in Chinese mythology, if your name were to be crossed out of the Book of Life and Death, that makes you immortal. So that's what he does. And they report to the Jade Emperor, it's like, this freaking monkey shows up and crosses out his name and makes a mess. Terrible. And the Jade Emperor is like, what kind of monkey has this kind of power? And the Yan Wenye says, oh yeah, it's the monkey that was born out of rock 300 years ago. Yeah. That shit, remember? And what they wanted to do was send the Heaven's Army to capture him, right, as a prisoner. And here we get another character. So this character here is called Li Jing. So he is the Chinese god of war, so to speak. And he carries a tower as his weapon. But we'll see that come into play a little bit later. But at this moment, Jade Emperor didn't send anybody because we have this guy. So this guy is called Taibai Jinxing. So he is named after the planet Mercury. And he has an idea. He's like, you know what? Hey, Jade Emperor, what if we don't send the army, but we bring him up to heaven, give him some sort of like official role so that we can keep him close, keep him in control, and keep him on our payroll. You know what they say, right? Keep your friends close, keep your enemies even closer. So that's his plan. And for whatever reason, the Jade Emperor agrees. Taipei Jinxing goes to the Fruit and Flower Mountains, asks Monkey King like, hey, you know what? Why don't you come up to heaven? Jade Emperor want to give you something to do, so come up. And what they've decided to give him is a role to look after the horses, the heaven's horses. and the title is called 弼马温. Now, 弼马温 is a made-up title, right? And then what it means is that 弼, it's not the same word, it's not the same character, but it means avoid something. 马 meaning horses, 温 meaning plague. So it's kind of like give Wukong this role to avoid him becoming a plague. So that's what the title means. And eventually Wukong finds out, it's like, hey, this is just a made up role for you. We don't even like you here. And he gets irate. Just absolutely mad. And this god over here, I don't know who that is, but he's like, yeah, this is already a big honor for you, and you nothing. And again, Wukong, big ego, terrible temper. So it does not end well. And what he does, goes home. So he goes home. And here the Jade Emperor is like, you know what? Get Li Jing, capture him, capture the monkey. And that's the end of episode 2. So first round of government work didn't turn out so well. And let's keep going on to episode 3. So the beginning of episode 3 we'll see is that the Heaven's army are coming around to capture him. And the monkeys here suggest to Wukong that there's I heard there's a new role called 齐天大圣. Wukong's like, oh, what does that mean? That means 齐天大圣 means somebody who is as powerful and as great as the heavens. Wukong's like, fuck yeah, that suits me. All right, the ego on this one, right? And then he's like, yeah, I want that. That's great. And that's what it says on the flag over here, right? 齐天大圣. And then Heaven's army shows up, and they try to capture Wukong, and obviously they can't do it. The Jade Emperor's a little panicked. It's like 100,000 Heaven's armies can't capture him. What's going on? So that could be this fight, but I feel like this is a fight that we'll see later on. The Taipei Jinxing suggests, like, oh, you know what? What if this time around we give him what he wanted? We make him 齐天大圣, right? It doesn't mean anything anyway. So why don't we just give that to him and have him settle down? And the Jade Emperor, for whatever reason, in his almighty wisdom, agrees again. Right? They're like, yeah, we'll make you 齐天大圣. Well, if you come back and work with us again, we'll give you government housing, we'll give you government allowance, we'll give you all the things that you need. It's just like becoming a senator. You get that townhouse, right? Here you get a government property. Obviously, it's who wouldn't agree, right? Free government housing and benefits. Hell yeah, I'll take it too. And here's Wukong. He's like, yeah, this is much better. They decided to give him the responsibility of looking after this place called 蟠桃园. So it means flat peach garden. So I'm not sure if you've seen a flat peach, but it kind of looks like this. So basically, imagine a peach, but it's flat and not as rounded. None of these props have flat peaches, they just have regular peaches. All right, and we see, we meet this person right here. This guy here, he is the local god, 土地 of 蟠桃园, flat peach garden. And we talk about this during the trailers where we meet this 土地. So what they are is that they're kind of like the local regional gods of different areas, and each area have a different one of these gods, and they like different things. But the gods comes over, tells Wukong, hey, you know what, these peaches are very, very rare, they're very special, and some of them ripen every 3,000 years, and some of them ripen every 6,000 years, and the rarest of them all ripens every 9,000 years. So basically saying, if you eat those, you can become a god. And these peaches are, again, very, very important. Later on you will see. So they're walking through the garden, they're looking at the peaches, and guess what Wukong does? Makes a mess of everything. And literally, like, all he does is make a mess of everything. You know what the Peter Parker's uncle said about great responsibility, great power, and all that? Wukong's like, fuck that. No responsibility, all power. And he goes around, he just eats all of these peaches. Right? And all of these girls here, so they are the servants of Wang Mu Niang. Now, Wang Mu Niang is the wife of the Jade Emperor. And every so often, she hosts a banquet. And she invites all the gods come over because the peaches are ripe. These servants pick some peaches from the garden, put them in the banquet, and they have a whole thing with the gods, and they eat the peaches, they stay gods, and all that good stuff. So they come around to look for peaches. It happens that Wukong overheard about this banquet, and he was very upset that he was not invited. So Wukong decides he'll go and crash the party instead. And this is the moment that we call 大闹天宫, so making a mess of the Heaven Palace. So they talk about all the peaches, all the big ones are eaten by Wukong. That's why we only have the small peaches. And there's another moment here, so we see this thing here. So this here is the cauldron in which Taishang Laojun makes his dan, his capsules, these medicinal healing or like almost like a magical capsules. And Wukong's like, oh yeah, what is this? This is great. And he goes around, start eating all of these capsules stored in these gourds. Speaking of gourds, actually, gourds are pretty important in Chinese mythology. Look up the 7 brothers that were born out of gourds. All right, so he eats all of these magical dan, and obviously these are prepared for the gods. The gods got pretty damn upset. You can see how upset he is. So like, you know, his eyes wide open. Absolutely not. And here we have all the Heaven's army come again to capture him, along with all the other gods as well. So here we can see an umbrella, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this could be one of the weapons for one of the 4 titans. And we also got the music here, the lute, I think. So the 4 titans, which we see at this moment here. So these are the 4 titans. Again, I'm not sure what their translated name is, but they're called 四大天王. So here we can see 四大天王 or 四天王. So they're the 4 titan or 四大金刚. So there's different names for them, and they all have a different weapon. So one of them has a lute, one of them has the sword, and one of them has the umbrella. For whatever reason, I don't know how the umbrella works. And another one has a snake. I mean, how does that? It's like, oh yeah, what did you bring to the fight? Oh, I have a sword. Oh, great, good job. That's a weapon, right? That's a good weapon. It's like, what did you bring? I brought a lute. Oh yeah, you know what? Music, very good. Keep up the morale. Fantastic, good job. What did you got? Got an umbrella. Okay, I mean, in case it rains or it's really, really sunny, fantastic. Okay, you know what? Fine, works well. What did you bring? I brought a snake. What? I brought my snake. What does a snake do? He slithers around, and sometimes I feed him some mice, and you know. It's like, I don't. You know what? Doesn't matter. All right, so that's the 4 titans, and that's what they're here for. So they're trying to capture Wukong. So perhaps again, I was thinking maybe this is that moment when the Heaven Army really like brings it down on Wukong, trying to capture him for the 2nd time. And guess what? It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Wukong too strong, bro. Too strong. And everything's falling apart. And here we have Taishang Laojun. So he is the one that made the stick. Now, strangely, he doesn't actually seem to recognize it in the TV show, so there seems to be no connection. But for whatever reason, he seems to have a really nice weapon to bring to be able to capture Wukong. So he saw this little thing that captures Wukong, and what they've decided to do is throw him in the cauldron, put him in the cauldron, burn him up, turn him into ash, make sure the time is just right. So there's a lot of also numerology in Chinese mythology. So it's very interesting. So they're talking about 7749. So 7 multiplied by 7 is equals to 49, which is why Wukong is in the cauldron for 49 days. And everybody thinks he's dead. But nope. You can't kill the Monkey King. He pops up right there. And what happens is that the 49 days in the cauldron actually gave him the 火眼金睛, so the flaming and the golden eyes, where he can use that to recognize who is a monster, who is not a monster. They sort of assume that he would have burned to ash, but it turns out he actually got a level up from that. I mean, what can you do? What can you do at this point? They've tried everything. So we got more montage of them fighting again. So this entire process of making a mess in the heavens is called 大闹天宫. And again, I believe this is this moment here, right? So that's why he's fighting all of these guys in the heaven, and I think this is what it is. Li Jing uses that tower to crush Wukong underneath it. Boom. All done. Fantastic. And then everybody's like, whew, finally, or so they thought. Boom. He's out, dude. Everybody's like, what the hell's happening? And he's making a mess in the heavens, dude. Like, just breaking everything. He's sitting on the throne. You know, it's a big no-no. And here, the Jade Emperor is like, get Rulai. So Rulai is the main dude for Buddhism. I'm not entirely sure if this Rulai is the same Rulai that sort of founded Buddhism as a whole, but it seems to be the case where he is the main guy that started Buddhism, and in fact, he was the one that started the entire universe, at least as far as Chinese mythology or Buddhism mythology goes. And he is the most powerful god there is. After all, he is the one that started it all, right? And there he is. And what he does is he offers Wukong a wager. So he wagers Wukong. He's like, you know what? If you can get out of my palm, then I will get rid of the Jade Emperor, ask him to move somewhere else, and you take over the entire heavens. But if you lose, then you go back to where you come from. Right? And Wukong's like, yeah, sure, no problem. Easy, right? Because he's got that Jin Do Yun, right? He can go 10,800 里, 50,000 kilometers, whatever, no big deal, who cares? So there you go. Rulai opens his palm. Wukong goes in, does his flip, does his Jin Do Yun, and away he goes, or so he thought. So he comes up with these 5 pillars, thinking this is the pillar that holds up the heavens at the end of the world. He writes his name on it. Obviously. I mean, what else would you do? Like any tourist. Typical, right? 齐天大圣到此一游. So it just says the Monkey King has been here, or 齐天大圣 has been here. And he does something else as well. So as a guy, we can sympathize a little bit, yeah? And he comes back, he's like, yeah, I've been to the end of the world. I saw the 5 pillars that holds up the heavens, so you better make your wager, whatever it is, come true. And Rulai's like, hell no. And Wukong's like, what the hell? That shouldn't be. That's not possible. And Rulai gets very pissed off, right? He is very upset. And basically he then imprisons Wukong under this mountain, under this 5-finger mountain. So it looks like a hand. It looks like 5 fingers, so it's under Rulai's palm. It's a little bit of symbolism there, and he's there for a while. And guess what? Guess what they do in the heaven? They party. I mean, imagine that you get trapped under a mountain, and everybody parties. Like, that's how disliked Wukong is, at least at this moment. And Wukong never stops being mischievous. The god's like, oh shit, that monkey's about to break loose. What do we do? I think we can see it here. So he's trying to get out, right? You can see him trying to get out, really working hard there. And Rulai's like, no, put the seal on, don't even worry about it. So there you can see the seal goes on, and boom, back in the mountain you go. Right, you're staying there for a while. So that's what the seal looks like. And we also get a moment here in the TV show to have us introduced to Tang Seng. So he is, after all, the main character or one of the main characters in the Journey to the West, and he will be Wukong's master. So I think it could be worthwhile to get to know Tang Seng a little bit better, to know a little bit about his origin story. So the story goes that when before Tang Seng was born, his father was murdered. And his mother was pregnant with him, but the bandit that murdered Tang Seng's father takes over the family. And in order to save Tang Seng's mother had to put baby Tang Seng in a basket. So we see that right here, in a basket, and sends him down a river with a message written in blood. The heavens have it, Tang Seng is rescued by this monk in the monastery. Tang Seng grows up in this monastery, learning about Buddhism, Taoism, whatever it is, right? And we see a little nice moment here where Tang Seng the young was asking to trade firewood for the fish, so he can then take the fish and release it into the wild. So it is a very popular activity to do as a act of kindness, to release something that's live back into nature. And in Chinese it's called 放生, and that's Tang Seng right there. This person here, this is the emperor for the Tang dynasty, I think. And he brings Tang Seng over to read the teachings of Buddha. And we got this old person right here. So this old person then kind of strange, you know. He comes here to sell this wand and this clothing here that the monks wear, but it's called jiasha. And eventually we'll find out. So this is the impetus to Journey to the West, where Tang Seng heard about these scrolls or these teachings that will bring everlasting peace and bring everlasting life to the emperor. So Tang Seng is very much someone who cares about people, but also, like, I think the moment that we have here, 不分好歹的善. So good without distinguishing between good or evil is not good, right? So Tang Seng is very much like someone who cares about everything. So very bleeding heart, very 菩萨心肠, right? Very Buddha's heart, very caring about everything, regardless of what they've done, right or wrong. He cares about everything. So this is not a good thing to have. And so sending Tang Seng on this path to see the world, to see the bad in it, to see the good in it, really teaches him to be a little bit more judicial with his good, I guess. And eventually found out this old dude is not just any old dude. It's actually 观音菩萨. 观 meaning watching over or looking at. Yin meaning the sound, generally referring to the sound of all life on earth. So her role is to watch over all life, all being on earth. So 观音. Then she was like, oh yeah, cool, you're going on that journey, fantastic. So see you later, bye. And he's out, and she's out, really. Okay, and then the whole thing is like Tang Seng heading out on that journey by himself, traversing through the entire Tang Empire. And that's it for episode 4. And next episode is a pretty important one, where Tang Seng runs into some trouble with this tiger, and some hunter saves him, and he gets sent on, and he runs into who else but Wukong. And here Wukong is yelling, Master! Master! Because Wukong was told by Guanyin that somebody will come by and save you. You know, not the best first impression, if I'm honest. But hey, you know what? Tang Seng's like, yeah, I'm a good person, I'll save him. And he goes around to remove the seal. We can see Wukong pops out of the mountains, and everything explodes. You know, Wukong does not half-ass anything, right? And they take a break at this farmer's lodge or farmer's farm or whatever, and they decided to spend the night there. And it just so happens some bandits show up. These guys over here. So they come around and make a mess of everything and really want to do some bad stuff, right? They're not good people. And Wukong, he killed a couple of these bandits. Oof. You know, again, not the most pleasant way to go. And you know, remember we talked about how Tang Seng doesn't like to kill anything and doesn't want to see anything dead. And this is the moment where we see Tang Seng's like, and Tang Seng's like, no, don't kill him. Wukong's like, sure. And tosses him all the way across the river and kills him, right? Yeah, Wukong's very strong. And Tang Seng's like, oh my god, you killed him. Why did you do that? Now, this is another moment, right? We're talking about how this 不分好歹的善, right? Tang Seng's like, yo, no, you gotta save this person. You can't kill anybody, even though they're terrible people. If you don't kill them, obviously they'll come back, take revenge on the farmers once they left, right? So perhaps not the best idea to keep them alive. And they've done enough bad to really earn their death, right? And Tang Seng's like, what the hell is this? I can't have somebody who kills like this. So Tang Seng sends Wukong home. The Dragon King told Wukong a story. The general gist of the story is that you shouldn't really give up so early, so easily, and stuff like that. And Wukong's like, okay, fine, you know what, I'll go back. In order to make sure, again, Wukong, I think at this moment is not somebody who is very responsible, someone who is very considerate. So Rulai, so this is Rulai, right, gives Tang Seng this hat. In it has the golden circlet, and also Rulai teaches Tang Seng how to tighten the circlet to control Wukong. And obviously Wukong's like, you know, a very vain person. He sees the hat, he's like, oh, I love this hat, I'm gonna put it on. As soon as he puts it on, we got the golden circlet right there, right? So Tang Seng's like, yeah, I didn't want to do this, but we have to do this to make sure you listen to what I say. We're able to control you. And Wukong's like, what the fuck is this? This is terrible. And he tries everything, and he tries to kill Tang Seng even, right? You see here? And Tang Seng reads this chant, I guess, to tighten the circlet. And Wukong's like, oh no, right? And he's jumping around, and that's why, again, like, I feel like this moment here is before he actually goes on the journey, because he doesn't have the golden circlet just yet. Right, and then Wukong's like, this is terrible, I can't do anything about it. And here he talked to Guan Yin. It's like, what is this about? Huh? What is this about? Why do this to me? Guan Yin is like, you got another chance, right? So you fucked up before. We'll put you under the mountain, but here is your chance. If you go through the journey to the west, you go with Tang Seng, you guys are successful at getting the scrolls or whatever, then you will be given
攻城后还你个金身正果.
金身正果. Literally means golden body and right fruit. It doesn't make any sense when you translate it like that, but basically means that you will be given the due reward. Whatever you think you deserve, you will be given that. So it's a very good promise, right? And obviously coming from a Buddha of her power, her stature, it is a very, very heavy promise, a very good promise. And Wukong gets very happy about it, right? You can see here. And Guan Yin's like, it's gonna be a rough road, but you must help him. And Wukong's like, fuck yeah, I'll do it for the reward. Right, and then he gets another reward, and also we see the white dragon horse. Again, secondary stuff, so not so important. Now the journey to the west officially begins with Tang Seng, right? Tang Seng, Monkey King, or Wukong, and the white dragon horse. I don't know how much importance these characters will have, especially Tang Seng and the white dragon horse. But here is the origin of Wukong and where he went from birth to the moment they go on the journey to the west. And I hope you learned something, and I hope learning about this helps you enjoy the game a little bit better when it comes out. And again, I feel like any sort of backstory that we can learn will help us with the story, because then when we see something, we can probably associate a little bit more. And I feel like here we will have a pretty comprehensive look at the origins of Wukong based on, again, the source material of the 1986 version of the TV show Journey to the West. Let me know what you think. Let me know if I got anything wrong. Let me know if I missed anything. I've also taken out a lot of stuff that I don't feel like is important. I'm trying to keep this as brief as possible. And yeah, leave me a comment. See what you feel. See if I missed anything. If there's like major differences between the novel and the TV show, please point them out, because I did not read the novel. And in fact, I don't think my Chinese is good enough to really read the novel and to understand it. So feel free to leave a comment about that, and maybe I'll make another video correcting everything and learning a little bit more about Wukong from the novel's perspective. So have a good day. See you guys next time. Bye. Take care.